You and Rob meeting,
Yes.
and you writing together,
Yes.
just by seeing an advert in the paper and thought, we'll give that a go.
Yeah.
Worked out well.
Yeah.
And then yesterday we were saying we got to the point where you've cast essentially your first character. You've cast Craig
Yes.
and Chris and Danny,
Yes.
and we should take it from there.
Woo!
Okay, so we were slightly paranoid about the whole thing because it had been rejected by BBC London 3 times, and here it was in BBC Manchester being commissioned, and both of us thought, is someone going to turn up and go, stop, what are you doing? This has been rejected 3 times, you shouldn't be here. But they didn't. And so we went into rehearsals in Acton, in the rehearsals rooms there, where it was just a big room with sort of goalposts, netball posts, that you use to work out where the room was roughly, and there'd be tape, and that was all. And so it was an odd sort of rehearsal space. But so we started rehearsing show 1, and there was an electrician strike, and they said, "Sorry guys, we won't be able to record. There are no electricians, we can't shoot the show." So the following week, let's rehearse show 2, and we did this for the entire series, rehearsed all 6 shows, and each time the electrician strike stopped the show, so we weren't able to shoot it. And then at the end, he was like, "Well, that's it, sorry, good night, God bless. Maybe it'll be remounted the following year." Thankfully, Peter Risdale Scott, the guy who commissioned it, put all the sets, remember those sets? They must have cost a fortune. In storage, all that grey, in storage, thankfully. And then a year later, the thing was remounted. Now the advantage of that was, we'd rehearsed with the guys. So we'd heard the voices in our head, we kind of had a feel for what was working, what was not working. And that was incredibly useful, even though we hadn't shot anything in front of an audience. That was a real big advantage for us. So anyway, we then went back and rehearsed it again, and this time shot it, and then that was series 1.
So the evolution of Red Dwarf. So in series 1, it's kind of your first stab at it, really, I guess you would say.
Yeah.
Now we know, you can just see from all the different costumes, the evolution of the characters, the different scenarios.
Yeah.
Was that always in your mind? Was it like, oh, we're going to take this to all these different places? Or how far ahead do you think when you were writing?
When we wrote the original pilot, people used to say, "What's the series about?" And we would always say, "Commission it and you'll find out." And the plan was, well, they'll be a bit like Star Trek, except without aliens, and they'll journey home, and there'll be adventures, and then that'll be fun. And if you'd said, yeah, but how can you have adventures if you haven't got aliens? What they're going to be about? Oh, just science fiction stuff will happen. That was roughly the idea floating on our heads. And then it became, okay, right, now write that series. And Paul Jackson had said, don't forget, no one likes science fiction. So don't write any science fiction in this science fiction series. So we wrote The Exam, which was, I think, the second show we ever wrote, which doesn't have that much science fiction in it until it turns out Rimmer's pretended to be Kachansky and blah blah blah, which is kind of science fiction. We sort of wanted to throw and we did. I think the next show was Waiting for God, and there wasn't that much science fiction in that. And then I think the next show was we went, the hell with this. The whole point of this is it's a science fiction comedy. No one's looking, and we wrote Future Echoes. And then Future Echoes, it was like, oh, yes, this is what the series is about. And then we did Confidence and Paranoia, again, which was a science fiction idea. It was like, yes, this is definitely, now we motor it. And then when the thing was remounted, we threw out one show, I can't remember what it was called originally, and replaced it with Me Squared. or one of the crap joke where it's like crap and then it's the toilet. That belonged in that original first script, so we made that joke.
So was this famous thing at the time, you know, the BBC Men in Suits, wasn't it?
Yeah.
It was very white, middle upper class, safe sitcoms.
Yeah. Oxbridgey, very Oxbridgey. Yeah.
Absolutely. So did you have to get to the point where we have to do what they want, and when they start seeing it's getting big, because it got big early, didn't it?
Yes, yeah.
Is that when you thought we can push it a bit more?
Well, no one said we couldn't do anything, apart from that one who don't remember people don't like science fiction. And then we sort of did the thing that we were told not to do, and then no one went, oi, this is science fiction. It was just like people had just given, yeah, all right, do what you're doing. And it felt like, I mean, you can imagine rehearsing the double scene in Future Echoes, because where are the gags? Where are the laughs? There are no jokes in that. It's just, you did it first time, there's a scene that is just slightly weird and doesn't make sense. Then you do it all around again, it's like, now it all makes, but it's very difficult to rehearse that. It's only when you piece it together in the edit that it comes together. But to be, I think, someone said, I can't remember who it was now, someone said, where are the jokes in this? And I think it might even have been, it was either Ed or Paul Jackson said, just do it, they know what they're doing, just do it, you'll be fine.
That's the thing, having the confidence in you is right.
Well, yeah.
Just to skip back to something we were talking about backstage as well, you were telling us about an anecdote from the time before Red Dwarf happened.
Yes, Spitting Image.
When you and Rob were at Spitting Image,
Rob was a famously terrible driver. He was diabolical. He just couldn't concentrate. You'd get, some idea, and then you'd be God knows where, in a ditch or whatever. And one day it was winter. We were driving to Spitting Image in Heathcote. He was late at passing his driving test, and I don't know why he was ever passed in the first place. Done the world a favour if he had never been passed. And we were in this TR7, his TR7 white sports car, which is about that far off the ground, really low. You're almost lying down in it. And we drove into Spitting Image, and he skidded on the road, and we skidded under an articulated lorry. So we were actually fully in it, and the driver in the articulated lorry braked, not knowing quite where we were, apart from we were under him, and the wheel of the Arctic stopped there on my windscreen. So we went in Spitting Image, and it's like, oh my god, this is the most terrible thing. Wow, what's happened? Oh, we nearly got killed, both of us, we nearly got killed. Wow, what happened? We explained. TR7 under lorry. And Anne Newcombe was the manager, the office manager, who said, this is terrible, this must never happen again. We cannot afford you coming in together, driving to work, and you both being killed. From now on, you should drive in separate vehicles. So it's like, hey, where's Rob? Rob's late today. Oh no, he was killed, carry on. No, he wasn't. Don't forget Thatcher, do some that. Yeah, fine, okay. It's funeral, we don't know, we'll let you know.
Go back to Red Dwarf. Red Dwarf's on screen now, it's live, you're in it.
Yes.
The writing process, is it all confined to you guys in an office, or are you sort of, as happens now, really, you're on set and you're watching it, and do you rewrite anything as you go?
It was very unusual for writers to be allowed in rehearsals, because the theory was, if writers are there, they'll just be going, no, don't change it, that's not what we wrote, and all that, and so they just become a pain. So you don't want them there. But we were very, no, we're being there. This isn't even a discussion, we're being there. And not because we want to protect everything. We want to see what's working and what's not working, and if it's not working, we'll fix it. And also, being around the guys, it gives you ideas when you see, because they're quite close in some aspects to the characters that they're playing. And you just it makes the whole thing more three-dimensional, and you can just feed off the energy. So we were there throughout the rehearsal process, and that was really... and of course you don't get paid, so you're there for free all the time. You're going to Manchester, you're going there, nothing, no money whatsoever. but it was worth the investment.
I remember seeing Craig Charles talking somewhere and just saying like they would go for lunch, they'd be somewhere, and you'd be within earshot.
Yeah.
And then the next episode, it was like, did we have that conversation? And I was like,
there was certainly a famous incident with Craig. Came in, stole a sausage off Danny's breakfast plate, squirted some ketchup on the Formica table, dumped the sausage in, and I swear this is true, he said, and took a chunk out of the sausage, I'm really worried about getting typecast as Lister. Because I'm nothing like him, second chunk. And then we just nearly fell off our chairs laughing. Yes, we cast this so well.
Obviously you're co-creators and you're writers, but then further on you became producers and directing. Was that part of the plan? Where did you kind of start moving into that?
The incident that started that was Paul Jackson was a great shouter. He really wanted everyone to be there on time and to finish on time. And we were breaking machinery by running tapes backwards, and things were blowing up because we were doing things that had never really been done. And so, for example, the animatronic, polymorph, for example, doesn't work. Things generally don't work, and you don't have the time to for them to be tested in the way that it would be on film, which puts you back. So he was an old school BBC guy, and we've got to start on time, we've got to end on time, why are things blowing up? And then he would shout and he would all get a bit mad. And lines did change in rehearsal, and I would have to change lines, and there was a speech of Chris's that had changed. And so I always used to sit in the gallery behind the director, and Rob would pace up and down, generally smoking and making Danny laugh. That was such a memory. You just hear Danny absolutely screaming laughing. And anyway, this time it was unusual. Rob was sitting with me. We're in the gallery, and I leant over and said to Ed, I think Chris's that speech that we put in the wiki, that's not in the script now. That's been forgotten. And Paul Jackson thought I was now giving a new line to the cast at the very last minute. Now, I used to do this. No, I did this later on in my career, but not at this point. And he went absolutely ballistic, screaming and shouting. And I said, I'm getting out of here, and I left. And Rob left. Finished the show, we went back to the hotel, and I was talking to Rob, and I'm going, this isn't good enough. Oh, his key line was, there are too many producers on this show. And I said, there aren't any producers on this show, because Ed can't cope with directing and producing, and you're not a producer because you're not here. So anyway, he came back and he knew it was really weird because it had completely turned. And I was so angry. And I said, we have got to produce this, because this ain't working. We're not getting the show we want. And he went, okay, fine. And then Naylor was formed to do this, and then we produced from season 3 on. And the budget for season 3 was identical to season 2. So you could see the difference it had made immediately. People went, oh, they got so much money, so much more money. No, it was just being produced properly.
So you were able to carry out your creative vision as well?
Well, yeah, because it's a bit like, it's much more difficult. It depends who you're with, about whether you're in an early stage, whether you're respected as, it's just the writer, or it's the writers, it's the people who created it, so listen to what they want. But it's very much easier if you're a producer.
I don't know who was here for the panel yesterday when Danny was sharing the story of Paul Jackson and how him and Craig were being. Well, Craig got summoned first, and then Danny saw what was going on and sort of. Yeah. So I guess did that change then when you and Rob took over? Was it a more relaxed set? Was it?
Yeah, he took a back step, I think, and it was like, you're the producer now, so you get on with it. And also, it's a comedy show. It's so important that you're relaxed and you feel in a safe space, and you're having fun. And there shouldn't be fear there. You know, it's like, is this funny? You shouldn't have to worry about things. You just say it, and then, you know. And so, if things did get easier, then I think from season 3 onwards, and happier, and continue to do that.
I think I imagine now, not that you'd ever take it for granted, but you're so used to seeing people dressed and wearing your creations. Can you remember the first time that you saw someone wearing your merchandise, or that was...
There are 2 incidents. One, Rob remembers getting in a lift with 2 of the crew people who were extras, and just shared this lift with them in BBC Manchester. He was going, oh my God, I can't believe it. I mean, this is like, it's real now. And then the other time was, someone's got in touch and they want to form a fan club. What kind of fan club? A Red Dwarf? Do they? Really? Why? Well, they just do. They're fans. Oh, okay. And they wonder if you'll let them. Well, why will we not let them? Why have we got a fan club? So that was the sort of second time.
Did you ever, like, stop and just stand back and take 5 minutes and go, look at what we're creating, outside of the actual work, you know?
I don't know. I think you just kind of live through it, really. Because there isn't it sort of happens so gradually. And then, so it's not like it's not a hit, and then, oh, it's a massive hit. It's sort of, I mean, today, just this, you think, oh, it's a hit, isn't it? You know?
You've not just realised that today?
No, it's part of it. In a way, yeah. Because you just think, it is. You can't deny it. You can't deny it. This is proof. And it's, okay, it's 38 years later, whatever. It's extraordinary.
It's a phenomenon, is what you're probably called it. But it has been for some time.
Yeah.
Have you got any favourite episodes from those first 6 series, first 7 series?
Generally the stories were the difficulty of doing it, like Polymorph breaking down, seeing the guys as alter egos for the first time. Danny is Dwayne Dibley, and I did not know it was Danny. He was standing around talking to some other members of the crew, and I went, oh my God, who is this? This guy's amazing. And then I looked at him and was like, oh my God, Danny, the teeth, it's Dwayne Dibley. Now we'd written what, it's basically the Nutty Professor and whatever, but just seeing him, it was unrecognisable. And it was like seeing Chris when he became Ace. You get that wig on, it's just like, you remind me of someone, but who is it? Oh my God, it's Chris. Yeah. So those were great, and also, you're getting immediate feedback from the audience when they're laughing, so you've got a good idea of, that went well. So many shows that were just glorious to make, for sure.
Now later on, obviously you came to write it yourself.
Yeah.
How does that change? Is that a different pressure on you? How does the dynamic change? There is no dynamic, is it? It's you in your head, I guess.
Yeah, it wasn't something I chose. It was kind of thrust upon me. We were doing a series called The 10%ers, and Rob wanted to write on his own. And I thought we should continue writing together, and we're in pre-production. Wasn't the ideal time. And then my agent and his agent said to me, we've got to have a script, can you write one on your own over the weekend? What, me? I've never written this. No, you need to write one on your own. We need to get something, or else the whole thing's going to be, okay. So I wrote the script, I took it in on the Monday, gave it to my agent, he read it, and he gave it to Rob, and Rob went, this is hilarious, I love this is great. And then my agent went, yes, I love this is great. And I got to finish, Rob got, this sucks. My agent got, this sucks. So anyway, that's not what happened. And so it was like, oh, okay. And Rob got really excited by this, saying, this is what the series should be now, you've cracked it, and we know. So then Rob went off to write his scripts and I went off to write mine. And then they didn't like his scripts, the director didn't like his scripts. They wanted him to rewrite them, he didn't want to. And meantime, I'm writing my scripts, and there's still 4 scripts that are unwritten. So my agent said, leave it to me, I'll go in, I'll sort everything out. I went, brilliant, I'll come with you when you see me. No, we don't need you. So I went to see Rob, came out of the meeting, said, right, everything's all resolved, it's all fixed now. Brilliant, fantastic. So he's going to be back writing with me? No, he's resigned, he's left. So I went, what? So who's writing these other 4 shows then? Oh, you are. But what, 1 a week? Yeah, you'll be fine. And so that was my, talk about, it was, and I just moved as well. So I had a lot of DVDs, and you can get these DVD bookshelves. Every time I was really stressed, I would build a DVD bookshelf, right? Because it was something I knew I could do, and it was fit, I could bang things, and it was like, I've got no idea, I'll make another DVD bookshelf. Oh look, there it is. And in the end, I had 12 of these things all built. Yeah, and then with the last, I wrote 3 shows, and the director had this famous actress girlfriend, and he used to say, no one realizes how talented she is. She's really funny. She could be a really great comedy actress, and you should, she died to have a part in the Temple Senses. So it's like, oh, okay. So I came, and it was the Friday before we were due to shoot the show on the Monday, and I was just dead, emotionally dead, because you're also going through a kind of divorce, that you don't want to have, and you've had to write all these scripts on your own for the first time, just absolutely dead. And I phoned up the director, and I remember, what am I going to do? How am I going to get a whole new script in 2 days? And I thought, I know what we'll do. We'll rewrite the pilot, and we'll cast his famous girlfriend in it, and then everything will be fine. So I said to my agent, this is what I'm going to do. So we all went, yeah, fine. Phoned up the director. He said, well, she hasn't said she'll be in it. I just said she would be good in it. Whoa, okay. I'll ask her, I'll see. So anyway, so I asked her, and he goes, yeah, she will be in it. So I did the rewrite, okay, it's all fine, she's going to be good. And then I didn't realise that they were going through a divorce. So we go into rehearsals, we start to rehearse, and they have a full-on domestic argument. Don't talk to me like that, I will talk to you like that, blah, blah, blah. And then she left on, I think, the Wednesday before the Friday recording. So we then had to recast. Linda had a whole 24 hours to find someone who would play the part and come in and agree to do it. And anyway, she did, and we did. And that was my sort of baptism into writing on my own. It was no fun.
No, that sounds quite. I know Spike Milligan used to say when he wrote The Goons, that's kind of what led into having breakdowns, because you can't go, can you give me a couple of weeks, I've just got a writer's block or anything like that.
Oh, no, there was no. I mean, the baptism of fire in it, because there was no time for. Yeah, so it was not my choice. It's not how I would have wanted to do it. I mean, I was very happy writing with Rob throughout, but he got bored of me.
When you're writing solo, again, like I said, no one's about to have this, but you've got these characters, these incredible characters, you've got this incredible dialogue. Is it all up here and you're just going on the computer, or are you pacing it, are you talking it out loud, are you doing the voices yourself?
Yes, yeah. So the way Rob and I used to work, we would get a really big long list of ideas. So it could be, we could do a backwards world one. Okay, write that down. Oh, we could do one, a virtual reality one, maybe. Yeah, okay, virtual reality one. And then we'd have a list of about 35 ideas. And then it'd be right, okay, which one are we going to write first? And we'd choose one, and then we'd go, okay, what's the story? And so we would beat it out. So we pretty well, scene 1 is this, scene 2 is this, the end is this, boom. And then we would write it from beginning to end, and then rewrite it. And that would be it. There were only probably 2, maybe 3 rewrites. Yeah.
So in terms of the dialogue and the characters, I mean, are you there saying out loud? Are you speaking in
Yes.
way?
Oh yeah,
Yeah,
absolutely. Yeah. And we're doing ace voices, and we're doing all the voices. Yeah. Oh, of course, yeah.
I'd like to hear that, but I'm not sure.
No, it must have sounded terrible to the people who know how they should sound, to us doing this really bad impression. So
they're the moments when you want CCTV on there. So if there's any footage,
that would have been fun.
When the original series came to its end, and they had this 10 years.
Yeah.
What was the thinking when it came to the end, and did you always know it would come back?
I think partly I did Series 7 and Series 8 because I was told if you do 52, it will mean it could be syndicated and go on to, in America, the British version, and it's got much more chance of surviving if you do it. So I did that, and I didn't want to write any more on my own. Apart from writing a movie, and then we had the surreal situation of my agent was going to raise the money, and I was going to write the script and direct it, and he kept nearly raising it, and then not quite raising it. I was sent to most of Europe to scout locations, all for free, and then ended up in Australia for 6 months to scout locations. The money's coming in, find the locations, put your production team together, do storyboards, on this went, and then it was, actually we can't raise the money, come home. So just complete fat waste of time, even down to, we've got your George Lucas's cameras, it's the same, literally the same cameras, they're all ready for you, but anyway, the money didn't come through. So then it was like, I've got to go and do something else I'll go insane. And it finally happened. There was a guy got in touch and said, there was a Duke of Manchester story, which I'm sure you've all heard. Have you heard of the Duke of Manchester story? Oh, okay, the Duke of Manchester story. Okay, I was in Queensland, and there was a call came in from the Grand Naylor office to say, there's a guy called, apparently he's really, really rich, he's just dropped out of a Will Smith movie, and he wonders if you need any more money for the Red Dwarf movie. And we hadn't got the money, I was just in sort of pre-production, we had the money. So here's his number, will you call him? So I called him, he was in Melbourne, and he said, yeah, I've been working on this Will Smith movie, don't like it. I've got 112 million just swirling around. Would this be of interest to you? I went, yes, it would actually. How much do you want? I went, honestly, we don't need anywhere near 112 million. 12 million, we're sweet. And he goes, fine, brilliant. Oh, I'm so excited about this. I'm such a Red Dwarf. Brilliant. He said, well, I'll come up. I'll come up and meet you. Where are you? I'm in Queensland. He said, I'm just down the road in Melbourne. Oh, brilliant. So he said, well, look, I'll come up and stay in your apartment? Okay. Well, actually, you might be better in a hotel. My apartment's okay, but you'd be better off in a... Okay. And so who's paying for my air flight? And I went, well, okay, I'll tell you what. Let me call the producer, and then he can sort out all the stuff. I don't really deal with the stuff. I called the producer and said, I think this guy's a fraud because he's got 112 million or so, he says. And yet he wants me to pay, or is to pay for the airfare. I said, okay, leave him to me. I'll talk to him. He's clearly a no. So anyway, he calls back about 5 minutes later and he said, okay, the guy claims he's the Duke of Manchester. and he's made all his money from because he's nobility. I went, okay, fine. Total nutcase. Thanks very much. Knew it was too good to be true. Went out for dinner that night. Huge, great stretch of limo drives, and everyone is making jokes about, Doug, here's your Duke of Manchester. He's showing up. So I thought, I'll just phone the office. And I went, thanks for the great tip about Duke of Manchester. Napoleon Bonaparte phones, and has also got money. Tell him, to get lost. Anyway, I know this is, I'm clutching onto straws here. I know there's no shit. Just go and Google the Duke of Manchester. I know it doesn't exist. But just to confirm mine. Then I call back 5 minutes later. Actually, don't. There is a Duke of Manchester, and he lives in Melbourne. So you go, whoa, what? Seriously? Yeah, oh yeah, and he moved there and he's quite famous and that. So I'm thinking, oh my god, have I got, oh, did I say anything to offend? No, I haven't spoken to him yet. So we get back in touch and we go, great, hi, your Dukeness. Can you just prove you are as dukey as you claim and that you've got all this money? Because we are very, very interested in all your money. So we went, sure, absolutely, no problem. I'll tell you what, let me give you, Kate Blanchard's a really great personal friend. Let me I'll give you Kate's number. Kate will vouch for me, and then bish bosh. Brilliant. So here's the number. So he gives the number, and the producer, right, I'll give him a ring right now. So he rings the number, it's engaged. That's curious. So anyway, he gets through, and a woman answers the phone, clearly holding her nose. I've got such a good cold, it's an Australian accent. I'm not sounding as Kate Blanchett light as I usually do. So it's like, okay, this is a total waste of time. A week later, the Duke calls again. How did you get on with Kate? He's like, we know you're a fraud, get lost, leave us alone. And he said, I will send you a bank account to prove I've got 112 million. Okay, do that. And these are the days of faxes. The fax comes through, and sure enough, there's 112 million in it. But it's his bank account, and he's clearly Tipp-Ex down the numbers and typed in 112 million. So that was one adventure. And then this guy gets in touch with me and says, I know you've been really messed about. I won't mess you about. I am just, I'm a real, proper, normal person, and I can help you get it made. Okay, so there was a meeting, and this guy arrives, and another guy arrives, and they both go, he's a fraud. They both go simultaneously. If he's staying in this meeting, I'm leaving. And if he stays there, I'm leaving. Who do we believe? Then finally the guy, a few weeks later, gives me a ring, and he says, look, I'm going to have to pull out of this. I've got things I can't get out of. I've just got to do, and it'll become obvious later what these reasons are. And it turned out he's being sent to prison. So then I thought, you know what, I don't think this Red Dwarf movie thing is working. I think I'll probably go on and do something else. So I did other stuff, and then one day a phone call came in, the repeats on Red Dwarf are getting such huge figures on beating everything, fools and horses, everything. They would like to do a show where the cast are in costume and they introduce clips from the old series. And I said, well, why don't we just commission a new series? And they said, because we've never commissioned any scripted comedy and we don't have the budgets. And they were right about not having the budget, so why were they right? So we had this micro budget, a joke budget. Although the actual show didn't look like it had no money, it looked actually a bit the other way. But by pulling strings and whatever, but it had to be 23 minutes, the story had to be cut into 3 parts. And the guys hate green screen at the best of times. The first set was about as big as these 2 chairs, and everything else was just green screen. It was, Anyway, so we got through it. And it went out, and the head of UK TV was in Iceland at the time, phoned up to get the figures, and he got the figures for the ratings for the overnights, and he said, can you just check that the decimal point is in the right place? Because he was expecting it to be about 200,000, and it was over 2 million. And then because of that, they went, we want more, and I went, right, I want proper budget, proper 30-minute slot, and I want to make it like we used to make the old Red Dwarfs.
And they went, there's this Duke we know.
Yeah.
Well, you touched there on the, which I haven't asked you about, the American version, the American remake. There's a reason I haven't asked you about it. What were your thoughts on it?
We were deep in post-production on Red Dwarf 5, so we absolutely couldn't leave. So, and it was, you're going to be whatever it was it consultant producers or something? And so once we'd finished post on 5, we then flew to America, and we arrived, I think it was the week before it was going to be shot. And they went, hi, come in, there's a read-through tomorrow, we'll read, huge cast. But what was weird was the set was identical. So it's like being in Shepperton, except it was in America. So it was quite disturbing, a lot of it. And we did the read-through, and it wasn't very good. It wasn't very good. And the writer / producer was, oh, that's really good. I'm really pleased with the script. Really good. And the cast, who were all talented in their own way, but just not right for the part. And they didn't write for their strengths. They just kept doggedly going, it should be like this. And Rob and I said, can we do a rewrite? Or even if it means we rewrite through the night. So I went, yeah, okay. So we rewrote, we started at 8 p.m. and we wrote all the way through the night and had a new script by 9 the following morning. And we went, we really think this is much better. And he read it and went, yeah. So it's like, okay. And we said, right, well, we're just going to go home. Actually, because we were wasting time here. I can't remember now why we had 2 bottles of champagne. We had 2 bottles of champagne for some reason. It might be that they were in our room that we were supposed to drink after the show had been a success. But we went back to our room, and one of us brought their bottle of champagne back. We drank 2 bottles of champagne, just going, this is bloody nice. And then we got quite bold and went, you know what, now we've had 2 bottles of champagne, let's go back and just create merry hell. So we went back, and then we said to the cast, have you read our script? What script? There's a new script? Yeah, we did well, we haven't seen it. Oh, have you? Oh, that's such a weird going home now. Oh no, we only signed up for this because of the writing. So there was sort of mayhem and mutiny, and they were all on the phone to their agents going, they've got to read this script. And the director at the time, in America, and I think this is a technique they use, when you do a rehearsal, no matter how many times you do it, when there's a funny line, the director always laughs at the line. You know, ha 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 ha, every line where there's supposedly a laugh. Apart from when he read our script, which he read in complete silence. So you think, this is interesting. So anyway, the cast insisted that they use our script, and the producer, it just disappeared. It didn't happen, so it was never shot. So it was a bit of a... Although, having said that, the guy was he was talented, but this was too early for him to show him, I think. So it was just a big old mess.
Has anyone seen the US kind of pilot? Yeah, where Lister is like a male model. It was never going to work, was it? Yeah. Right, let's get to you guys. Who's got a question for Doug? Yeah, you have
extra question.
Ken, so we're talking about the episode Backwards that we played earlier.
Yeah, sorry. So Backwards. Have you ever contacted Christopher Nolan for plagiarising Backwards when he made the film?
Yeah, no, he's obviously a big fan of that show. I know. Yeah, I agree. But having said that, also Martin Amis wrote Book Times Arrow shortly after that as well.
Sorry, Dan.
That's it. Thank you.
Yeah, and he's like proper.